landed on your soil, I said to the people of the Philippines whence I came, I shall return. Tonight, I repeat those words. I shall return.
General MacArthur, who is returning to Leyte as he has promised.
People of the Philippines, I have returned. By the grace of Almighty God, our forces stand again on Philippine soil, soil consecrated in the blood of our two people.
Some of the soldiers are snickering. Some of the soldiers are snickering. I can't believe it. Some of these soldiers have no respect. Some of these soldiers have no respect. The general just strolls onto the beach and walks into the jungle.
South Manila. American tanks and tank destroyers on the north bank of the river fire at last remaining Jap strongholds in the southern part of the city. .155mm howitzers lobbed shells across the river to blast the walls of Intramuros and adjacent buildings. 240mm guns of the 544th Field Artillery firing point blank against the ancient walls. Jap defensive positions are softened up preparatory to a crossing of the river. Machine guns firing at Jap emplacements in the Letram and post office buildings. Under a protective barrage of artillery, mortar, machine gun, and rifle fire, troops of the 3rd Battalion, 129th Infantry, 37th Division crossed the Pasig River in assault boats. Landing on the southern bank, the troops fan out to advance on the walled city where the Japs are dug in for a last stand. Public buildings adjacent to Intramuros are strongly fortified with pillboxes and machine gun nests. Our troops pour through a breach in the northeast section of the wall. Entry into Intramuros is made 23rd February by elements of the 37th Division. TNT charges for blowing up and sealing the wall's underground tunnel system. Troops edge forward, picking off Jap snipers with close rifle fire. A Jap pillbox at the base of the wall is destroyed. 155mm howitzers blast Japs holed up in the legislative, agricultural, and finance buildings. Troops of B Company, 148th Regiment, from their positions in the wrecked City Hall, advance upon the legislative building. Flamethrowers burn out Jap fortifications under the wall. More than 1,500 of the enemy, mostly naval personnel, were annihilated in the Intramuros fighting. Floor by floor and room by room fighting rages within the buildings of the walled city. Our advance is held up by Japs fighting from strong points in the corridors and on porches. Infantrymen close in on the remaining Japs. The last pocket of enemy resistance inside Intramuros is smashed 24th February, 3 weeks after the entry of American troops into the Philippine capital. Medical Corps troops following up the infantry attack on Intramuros arrive on the south bank of the Pasig River. Filipinos killed in the intensive artillery fire by the Japs. The enemy tortured and murdered civilians, refusing to allow them safe passage out of the walled city. Weak and shell-shocked after Jap torture, this St. Augustine priest is given food by the nuns of the Santa Clara Sisterhood. Chinese and Filipino Red Cross workers carry out wounded Filipinos from the Santo Domingo church, where over 500 people sought shelter from American and Jap gunfire. Evacuees from Intramuros await transportation across the Pasig River to the northern sections of Manila. These people have been under almost continuous artillery barrage for 10 days. The Japs allowed them a minimum of food and water. Many are wounded and shell-shocked. General Douglas MacArthur and Sergio Osmeña, President of the Philippine Commonwealth Government, arrive at the gates of Malacañan Palace. Within earshot of the fighting which still rages in the remaining enemy-held buildings of South Manila, a simple ceremony is held to mark the rebirth of the Philippine Commonwealth Government. Speaking over the radio networks and before an audience which packed the state reception room of the palace, General MacArthur bitterly denounced the Japanese for their wanton destruction of Filipino life and property, and said that the Filipino Commonwealth was now at liberty to pursue its destiny in the family of nations.
However, due to the above circumstances, my plans and my strength were not sufficient to the situation, and if these things happened, they were absolutely unavoidable. They were beyond anything that I could have expected.
私はこれらの事柄を事前に知ることができたならば、いずれの地点といえども、これが禁止防圧の手段には全力を投じてやる次第であります。
If I could have foreseen these things, I would have concentrated all my efforts toward preventing them.
またもし事後の今日、私の立場が要するならば、軍法に照らして徹底的に処断をする考えであります。も もしも今日の私の立場が許すならば、軍の放棄に照らして現状に所覧をする考えであります。
And if the present situation permits it, I will punish these people to the fullest extent of military law.
なお証言のうちに私が皆殺しをしろということを命じたとか指示のことの証言も出ましたが、断じて核のごときことを命じたことはありません。また上より命令を受けたこともありません。
Certain testimony has been given that I ordered the massacre of all the Filipinos. And I wish to say that I absolutely did not order this, nor did I receive the order to do this from any superior authority.
また、敵行為を許可したこともありません。
Nor did I ever permit such a thing.
また知ったならば見逃したこともありません。
Nor if I had known of it would I have condoned such a thing.
この件は天地神明に誓って申し上げる次第であります。
And I will swear to heaven and earth concerning these points.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
These difficulties that you mentioned,
Commission interrupts to recess.
You 命令を山下大将が出したことがありますか？もう絶対にそういうことはない。There's absolutely no such thing has ever occurred.
Did you ever hear of any commander under General Yamashita issuing such orders?
山下大将の下官の中でそういうような命令を下したことを聞いたことがありますか？ありません。I have not.
Will you describe the organization of the administration in the Philippines?
ちょっと話が違いますが、フィリピン島の中で捕虜の取り扱いに対する要請をちょっと説明をしていただきます。行政捕虜の取り扱いですね。あれはどういう行政でしたか？
フィリピンにある捕虜および一般市民の抑留者、これは不良収容所長が管理をしております。
There was a commander of internment who had charge of the custody of prisoners of war and
この収容所長が兵站監についておって、兵站監が山下大将についておるわけ。
This director of internment was attached to the line of communications headquarters, which in turn was under the command of General Yamashita.
What were the instructions
surprised and afraid when the Japanese came. And World War II also opened the eyes and minds of many Filipinos who were otherwise very complacent and who were a little sleepy, regarding political matters. And also, some knowledgeable Filipinos realize that Oriental people can also become strong. And they found that out when the Japanese came over. But the only thing is that the harshness of Japanese culture and discipline was too much for many Filipinos to accept at that time. And of course, another thing is that the food situation was very, very bad. And most of the Japanese took over the food of the Filipinos. And there was a lot of starvation that happened at the time. But it was part of the war, at that time. And the Philippines, as a Filipino, the Philippines has been invaded by 3 countries. And our history is full of invasions. First, the Spaniards conquered us for almost 400 years. And then the Americans conquered us for more than 50 years. And then the Japanese came for about 4 years. So, of all these countries who invaded the Filipinos, only one country came back and apologized. And it was the Japanese. That is one thing I admire about Japanese culture. Very much.
He became close to me, and I became close to him. And when maybe about a few weeks the war was going to end, he was teaching me a song. He said, a Japanese song. He said, it's a ballad. Masiro ke fuji no kedaga sao kokoro no tsuyori. He says, tate toshite. He's very sentimental when I say that. Omi no rawa. He says, he sings that. He says, I have a girlfriend in my kwan and my parents. And the war is going to end. I won't see you anymore, he says. You take care of yourself. And we're going to the mountains, he says. So that was the last time I saw him. And he was just a private, Then I understand. The Japanese are just as sentimental as the Filipinos, And that's why, can you imagine, you go to war with a neighbor and your ally is some 10,000 miles away, So I said, but that's life. You learn from your mistakes. And what I like about him is that he was resigned to die, Because when he left me, he knew he was not going to go back to Japan. He was going to die. And that is the kind of heroism, that young Japanese people today should do. My message to them is that they should read about the kamikaze. Those people deserves the reward of among the heroes of the war, both from the Axis and the American allies. No one can equal the kind of courage, determination, and heroism than the kamikaze people. For one big difference, while it is true that everybody expects to die when you go to war, and you are brave because you don't mind if you have to die, none of those brave people really know that they will die now. But in the case of the kamikaze, when they flew, they know they were going to die. In fact, they will kill themselves for the sake of the country. And nobody can partner. That's why they should be honored. They should be remembered. And the Japanese people should be grateful for them, because they symbolizes the fiber and the strength of the Japanese people that made them today, despite the 2 bombs dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They are a world power because they are people who fight like the kamikaze.
This is a government hospital in La Trinidad, Benguet. It has clean hallways, organized wards, efficient operations, and modern equipment. In fact, it is one of the few hospitals in the country that is partly solar-powered and that has a machine room that automatically controls the hospital's water and power supply. It was rehabilitated with nearly a ₱1 billion grant from Japan's Official Development Assistance or ODA.
Mga common diseases, hindi na namin kailangan dalhin sa Baguio or other hospitals. Siguro basically karamihan ng sakit kaya na namin gamutin dito sa hospital natin.
The ODA has been giving loans and grants to the Philippines for several decades now. Among the recent projects are the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway and the ₱900 million Pantal Bridge in Dagupan, Pangasinan. It has also aided projects in grassroots communities like this organic composting facility in Benguet.
For the moment, we really need assistance. We have limited resources. Even though how we maximize the use of our resources, it's not even enough to answer the demand or the needs of our people.
Japanese ambassador to the Philippines, Makoto Katsura, says his government will continue to help the Philippines, particularly in building major projects.
A major part of the Japanese ODA went to the infrastructure projects, such as airports, ports, or roads. For example, Terminal 2 of the Naya Airport was paid with the Japanese very concessional loan. And Iloilo Airport, or Bacolod Airport, were constructed with the Japanese loan, and many bridges.
Katsura says the Philippines is the 4th largest recipient of Japanese loans and grants. The Benguet General Hospital is a good example of how 2 countries can become partners for the benefit of the Filipinos.